Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Amina Husain. I'm Assistant Professor at the Department of English and Modern European and Asian Languages at Khwaja Moinuddin Chishti Language University. And in these series of YouTube lectures, my today's topic for discussion is John Milton, where I will be discussing some features, characteristics, important highlights of Milton's work. John Milton is also prescribed in our postgraduate program for English literature. So we know that Milton is often classified as one of the most consummate literary artists, whose touch is as sure in delicate detail as in the vast general effects. And to look into some of his, very important, aspect of his work, instead of looking at his body of work, which I have discussed elsewhere, today I want to look at his particular style of writing. One of the most important that emerges is sublimity, and that we all know from his masterpiece Paradise Lost. Now Milton of course had a very noble conception of a poetic vocation, and to him poetry was not just an intellectual exercise or some sort of a distraction or diversion. It was obviously something solemn, it was grand, it had a purpose, and it was sublime. So hence he pursued this ideal of poetry all through his life. And Milton's poetry is of course sublime, but it is also at the same time majestic, and it is the expression of a pure mind and a noble mind, so as to say. And his poetry ennobles and also elevates the readers. And even when he does talk about the Satan in his Paradise Lost, we see how much of depth Milton creates even in the character of Satan. Now also Milton is known as a great lover of beauty, and Milton was possessed with the deep sense of beauty, and he loved beauty in all manifestation, and especially his love for the beauty of nature can be seen in Allegro, where he has also written Lycidias, where the beauty of virtue, he talks about beauty of nature, and especially also in Paradise Lost and Paradise Regained, and not to forget to mention Samson and Agnostus, where he talks about the beauty of righteousness in a very highly poetic manner. Now also what Milton imbibed the spirit of his time, which was Puritanism. Something is exhibited in his work as well. So you find a very strong undercurrent of Puritanism in Milton's poetry, and it is not distinctly Puritan in his early poetry, but in his later years, towards the end of his over and his career as a poet and a writer, we see a very clear shift towards puritanical thinking and a religious tendency, which is of course taken from Bible. So that is why the aim of Paradise Lost, he very famously described it as to justify the ways of God to men. And then again, Paradise Regained, which portrays Christ's resistance to Satan's, temptation and victory over them. Similarly, the theme of Samson, Agnostus, is also biblical, and it is also imbued, and it also instruct it is filled with moral earnestness. The next aspect of Milton's work that strikes us is classicism. He was a classist, and his epic Paradise Lost is also of that stature. And being a student of ancient classics, his fondness for it is clearly evident in his body of work. And Paradise Lost or Paradise Gained, or the Greek tragedy, Samson, Agnostus. So even his elegies and even his ode that he he wrote to the Nativity Christ. His style is distinctly based on classical models, and his enormous similes and descriptions that he uses instantly reminds reader of the ancient Greek and Latin epics. Of course, he's flawless in his poetic art, and it has been said, and I want to quote what Edward Albert wrote about Milton, and I quote. He says that as a poet, Milton is not a great innovator. His function is rather to refine and make perfect. And to Milton, the art of poetry is very high, and it's a grave thing. It's a thing of a choicest discipline of phrase, the fine craftsmanship of structure, and the most nobly ordered sound of music. Well, with this, I end my short lecture on Milton's characteristics of Milton writing. I hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for listening.